people that are really starting to do well are genuinely showing up on a much more raw and open level. So not, I believe there's the perfect strategy is almost the wrong strategy on LinkedIn, because when you are this spanking clean personal brand and everything's like correct to the last design, the last like letter, I think you make yourself unapproachable, because you almost seem like this super serious, tight-knit outfit that never basically makes a mistake. And we're human. We all make mistakes, no matter how smart you are and whatnot. Like, I make the stupidest mistakes that why would I do that? But I do it because we're human. Sometimes we get overwhelmed with things. So I think that's the main trend, that like the rawer content's winning, but also people that really know how to position themselves better. And because there's more fluff on the feed, the people that can position themselves better and actually create an offer that's simple to understand, I do feel will win on LinkedIn in general.
Welcome back to the Take a Chance on You podcast, hosted by me, Alexandra Forsyth. Today, I'm so excited to be passing the mic to Matthew Wheeler-Barrett, who describes himself as being obsessed with human connection. He's based in Cape Town, South Africa, and he's the founder of Unify. Matthew, how are you doing?
Very good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to diving into this conversation today.
Me too, because we share commonalities in terms of human connection. So I think what might be quite nice for the listeners is if you just give an introduction into who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. So, co-founder of Unify, which is a B2B personal branding agency. And we're based outside in Cape Town, which is awesome. Great talent out here, great potential, great people. So we're really enjoying the fact that we're expanding more into the international markets. And that's the agency side. And then on the coaching side, I'm working on one or two things behind the scenes that you guys will hear about soon. But also heavily involved in coaching in some other creators, cohorts and communities on LinkedIn. And from all of this experience, as you mentioned, with my obsession with human connection, I do find that this world is moving very fast with AI, but I am definitely going to be one to remind people that genuine relationship and human connection is of utmost importance for business.
It is, and I think the trends this year, people really want connection. They really want to get back in person, talking to each other, building community. So it's not just you and I think it's universal. I think there are a lot of people out there who are struggling to possibly get past technology and embrace AI for what it is. And I do keep saying that's what we should do, but don't lose sight of the humanness.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, more specifically, LinkedIn, I think unfortunately so many people get so obsessed with the vanity metrics. Is my post doing well, this and that? Meanwhile, you got the DMs, you've got people in your network. Start building relationships, start having conversations. What I found, as you grow your personal brand and you show up consistently, it definitely gives you a greater sense of leverage and trust. And that allows you also then to meet up with people quicker in person. So I like to always say your LinkedIn is a personal brand development tool. If you show up genuinely human, it actually allows you to move on the ground faster and get into those rooms. It's not even pitching a client or trying to get business, bringing learnings, bringing new connection. I think it's so important that we never lose the human element to where this online world's going, because at the end of the day, human connection trumps all. And I think, I don't know, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, but I do feel like we're eventually going to go in circles, like most things do in fashion and all sorts of things. People are going to get tired of the AI and the lack of connection, and they're going to really then start seeking out for communities and groups that generally do value the human connection versus trying to just absolutely scale everything, just get all the numbers high. It's not all about that. It's all about, that connection. So I'm happy to see also what comes of this chat and how we just keep bouncing between ourselves with this.
The conversation flowing for sure. I've written down a few points because you keep talking really fast.
Sorry.
But I love what you said about personal branding. I would say longevity with a personal brand. It's not an overnight. You can pivot your careers. Don't worry too much about that. I started out in a corporate setting and then slowly made my way through to creative, but I still do a lot with technology. So I've combined half a dozen different skills that I have. So don't be afraid to do that. And then remember, when you're building your brand, start posting, talking about projects that you're working on, But like I say, it's not an overnight. And I know, Matt, we've spoken about this before. Love what you mentioned about DMs, warm leads. Never underestimate the power of your existing
Hmm.
network. It's not always about trying to outreach to people who you may not know yet,
Hmm.
but what have you got within your immediate circle that you can benefit from mutually together? And then obviously, to your point at the end about going full circle with AI, I mean, micro influencers and content creators who have communities, the compounding effect of that, the relationship building, the trust and rapport
Mm,
trumps possibly a community with 50,000 people in, and there's no real connection there, or they haven't met up,
mm.
they haven't had an opportunity to see each other.
And I mean, I was joking about how this is. Yeah, I was on that LinkedIn Live this morning, and part of that discussion, which was really interesting on that conversation. But with DMs, people are so like quick and rushed to get to the end goal that people sense almost that desperation. Like you would never go up to a random person on the street and be like, let's go for dinner. Like, you need to like at least like slowly but surely build a genuine relationship, and it could start with even just a compliment on someone's content, and slowly, making your face more recognizable in their content, and then slowly bleeding it into the conversations. But what I did encourage people this morning to do is like send 100 messages, but don't have a rushed endpoint for all of them. If some of them take 2 weeks, cool. But eventually you're going to constantly be having human conversations flowing to the point that naturally certain ones will just start closing and go in the direction you want. And I think another important point that I really enjoyed you mentioning was, especially in B2B, and I've seen people post about it recently again, is people get, oh, I only got 2,000 impressions. I'm like, okay, let's say the unique visits there are probably about 1,300 people. 1,300 people. Imagine them all in a room. That would feel like overwhelming. Meanwhile, they're
Yeah.
viewing your content every day, right? And people need to realize like these smaller communities, you have greater chance of greater connection, which equals greater trust. Greater trust allows you to have greater leverage, which builds better business. So I'm very excited to see where the B2B space goes. I mean, if you want me to, I could share in a bit some of the predictions I have with community and where things I think are going. But yeah, it's just genuinely all in all so exciting, especially for the people. And I appreciate we all have to put food on the table. We all have to pay our bills. But when you can and things maybe are in a bit more of a comfortable position, just slow things down a bit, focus on actually building genuine relationships, and you'll be amazed when you show up for others, they'll start showing up for you.
Absolutely. I definitely want you to go into the trends in a second, but it reminded me of how we first connected. I think we've been connected for a long time. Neither of us reached out to each other because I didn't feel that we needed to at that time. Okay, now I'd like to speak to Matt about X, Y, and Z relating to
Hmm.
events, etc. So yeah, it's organic. It comes at the time when it's meant to, but like you say, if you rush it, when it comes to business, it can lose that bit of authenticity. So
Yeah, exactly. Mm.
I really like that point. And as you say, it's trust equals leverage, trying to build. It's just, for me, it's always all about authenticity, connection, trust, rapport. If you can get that right, everything else should flow quite nicely. And again, also really interesting. I'm in the place that you're mentioning, taking it a bit slower, really building a solid foundation when it comes to who I'm outreaching to, doing my due diligence. What does 12 months look like with that brand? I think business to business, B2B, you should be thinking more along those lines anyway.
I fully agree with you. And to tie on to your one point about also slowing down and even using the example between our engagement and how it came to having this conversation today is just by staying top of mind, people need to remember that that's what you have to do, especially for high ticket value items, because they may not be at the right time when you approach them in the place to purchase your offer or, for example, need it. But when they suddenly hit the fan and things go wrong and they need someone to solve the problem now, if you do communicate in an effective way through your content and showing up authentically, you most likely will be one of the people that get a chance to, let's say, pitch your offer or your services of how you can help someone. But that only comes, unfortunately, with consistency. It's like going to the gym. You can't just suddenly get all like, shredded and in the best shape of your life. You have to keep going back to the gym still. Same with your personal brand. You can't just close one lead and then think, oh, everything's just going to fall into my lap. I almost feel like eventually personal branding will become that because how are you going to stand out? How are you going to show up on a human level when there are so many things evolving on a technical level with AI and whatnot? And I truly believe that people genuinely really do need to leverage AI in the right ways, but also in the ways to build systems that unlocks those pockets of time that allow you to be human with the things that need to be kept human.
Absolutely. So going back to B2B trends, what's it been looking like for you this year already? Any changes to 2025 and then looking ahead where we're going?
Mm. So just LinkedIn specific, let's start there. And I'd say that because the bar's on the floor with content, it's easy to just quickly throw something in AI, regurgitate your thoughts and throw it on the feed. Whereas let's say Instagram, I think is a bit more challenging because the bar's a bit higher. You have to create good video, you have to add your subtitles, and that takes time. So it's more effort to show up. Meanwhile, everyone's just giving it a crack on LinkedIn. Hey, I created this Claude system, comment Claude, blah blah blah, and like
And
it's
you can
oh,
tell, you really
drives
can
me
a
bonkers.
mile away.
To anyone's listening, if you see those posts, go check the experience. And most of the time, they will be people that have barely worked in the working world. No offense to them. I appreciate the hustle, but just be careful with who you listen to for certain parts that you're going to implement into your business. But where in general LinkedIn I see going is the people that are really starting to do well are genuinely showing up on a much more raw and open level. So not I believe there's the perfect strategy is almost the wrong strategy on LinkedIn because when you are this spanking clean personal brand and everything's like correct to the last design, the last like letter, I think you make yourself unapproachable because you almost seem like this super serious, tight knit outfit that never basically makes a mistake. And we're human. We all make mistakes, no matter how smart you are and whatnot. Like, I make the stupidest mistakes that why would I do that? But I do it because we're human. Sometimes we get overwhelmed with things. So I think that's the main trend that like the rawer content's winning, but also people that really know how to position themselves better. And because there's more fluff on the feed, the people that can position themselves better and actually create an offer that's simple to understand, I do feel will win on LinkedIn in general. It's more so just showing up more vulnerably, more authentically, and not making it as perfect as possible. It needs to be a bit of a messy brand to a certain extent in a way.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
yeah, I'd say
My
that's mainly the trends I'm seeing on the LinkedIn side.
If I look at the podcast, when I first started, I always say it was so opposite to who I was at the time in terms of a corporate background, very squeaky, very clean. When it comes to the podcast, it always feels a bit ratty. And I quite like that because it shows another part of my
Yeah,
personality and also the
exactly.
focus on the guests. I don't know whether you've read the talent report that LinkedIn posted this year a little bit earlier on. And they were saying the percentage of individuals changing their bio to founder or entrepreneur has skyrocketed this year because people want more autonomy over their careers, which we're seeing
Mm,
anyway with the AI and IP,
mm,
especially in the creative industry, copyright
mm.
infringement. There's a lot of battles going on with different artists, so it makes sense that that's possibly where we're going.
Yeah, and I think the way corporate's going, when you just hear about all these massive mass retrenchments, I arguably think, especially now where we're moving and more jobs are going to get replaced by AI, arguably there's never been a time better to invest in your personal brand. And like once you build an audience and a community that you trust, it's yours for the taking in terms of, how you monetize it, how you perhaps leverage relationships to go into business with other people. There's all sorts of angles you can do. I was even speaking with someone this week about a similar topic where you could be really good at scaling your own personal brand, which I've seen on LinkedIn. People are, but then it sounds like in the background they're struggling for clients because writing and doing it for someone else is a completely different game. And that's where it really shows who's got the understanding and skills because personal branding and showing up as a human and whatever you want to call it on LinkedIn these days is there needs to be a strong understanding of strategy, positioning, design, storytelling. It's not just copy anymore. Copywriting also arguably now is the new modern selling with content and how it's shifting. So I think there's so many options. But what I said, someone could even scale their brand, and maybe they don't have luck with other clients, but they're very good at telling a story through their eyes. It opens up the opportunities where, let's say, a tech business that aren't really good at marketing themselves, you could perhaps proposition them, hey guys, you aren't really good at doing social media. And I know Cody Sanchez speaks about similar things to this as well. And like, give me a bit of equity or stake in the business, and like, I'll tell the story. I'll be the face of the business, because I appreciate, like everything, I'm not into building websites, and I'm sure people aren't into building their personal brands. I think I see that as being a trend where eventually there's going to be individuals that have built such a strong audience. I think that is like the sign of where it's going. Like, there's going to be one or two strong
Yeah.
voices that essentially act as the overall distribution strategy.
I love that. And I think the idea that if you aren't as comfortable building your personal brand, however you'd like to do it for somebody else, it's a win-win for only yourself to have the experience, but then for the company to elevate their positioning, both business and personal. Top level leadership also coming to the table now, and also saying,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's not
Mm-hmm.
enough for us to just share content about the business. We've got to actually
No.
walk customers through the process, show them the product, show them the solution, us trialing it to gain that trust. So I also
Yeah.
see there's a bit more of a storytelling that needs to be happening. And I'd argue that if you're a startup or an SME, take the time now to really build that funnel.
And I mean, a great example as well to show people are hungry to learn from the people, even with the announcement of Tim Cook stepping down from Apple and John becoming
Yes, I
CEO.
saw.
He didn't even have an optimized profile. I saw a few people post about it, but there's the proof in the pudding. The rate at which his size of his account grew made me upset for someone that's been trying to grow it for 3 years. He like,
Yeah, I know.
tripled my audience in like a day, but that
And it's
just
like,
goes
why
and shows
now?
you, like,
And
yeah.
why now? What's the point? I mean, depending on where he goes and what he decides to do next. But I do think, obviously, he spent so much time at Apple. The valuation of the company, the size that it's gone up in his tenure is astronomical. They
Mm.
were going through some of the figures and statistics.
Yeah.
So it's amazing what he's done.
I do think, though, in terms of a ROI metric for more of your corporate personal branding people, let's say, or CXOs, is that the biggest return on investment we've seen with our more, let's say, hardcore corporate clients is talent acquisition through the content. So there's one thing to have job ads. There's another to have a standard company template off Canva. Hey, new job of cool, but that doesn't tell me anything about your company. If I'm a young working professional, yes, I'm grateful for any job opportunity. However, I probably still will play between a few options based on where I think my trajectory of my career is going to go in terms of learning, and how's this person going to help me grow more? What am I going to get exposed to? And I mean, we have a very big end of line automation machinery company that spent like $3,000 a month, and it lacks the human connection, right? $3,000 a month on LinkedIn job ads, not one hire, and they did it for, I think, 3 months, so $9,000 in total. And we did a few posts. We started getting good traction on the CEO's account, showing the factory, the people, the values. 16 key hires with engineers. So it, like, people buy from people, but I think
Absolutely.
there's so many how cool is that? Like, and you now don't even have to go pay recruitment fees or LinkedIn job ad
Well,
sponsorships.
hiring, I will be going to see what you're posting online in terms of your brand. I don't necessarily mind if you don't have a website, but what does your portfolio look like? What are your opinions? And have you done anything
Mm,
outside of
mm.
the job? What are your interests? Because that would also interest me.
Okay. Exactly. There you go. And it's just, you could see it as a tool to LinkedIn, a tool to network at scale. But if done right and a bit slower, you can still go faster than you could go on the ground. I mean, you can only have so many cups of tea or coffee a day. I'll do the numbers on the ground, but you can use it as, your tool to move on the ground as well. And yeah, I make LinkedIn my daily habit. I start my day by writing my post every morning because it gets me focused, it gets me excited.
I'm the
Yeah, because I don't
complete
have the focus to
opposite.
sit
I'm the
down for 3 hours
complete
doing
opposite to
nothing.
you. I love how you say it gets you fired up. I think, oh, here we go again. Here we go again. I've got to post it. I've got to reply to comments, which I love. But at the same time, I think, oh, the anxiety in me, because I do really treat it as a business, whether people agree or disagree. For me personally, I'm on there, I post, and then I'm off within the space of 30 to 40 minutes because I just love the
Mm,
in-person interaction, the conversations, the same
mm,
with the podcast, going live, going in
mm,
person. I just thrive
mm.
on that. Gives me the most inspiration, the most knowledge I can absorb is
Yeah.
through other people. I mean,
Mm. I
our
fully agree with that.
conversation today, I've already written down some notes which are spinning plates in my mind. That's what I need. But everyone's different.
Mm,
Everybody is different.
mm.
People have the same
Yeah.
level online.
Yeah, exactly. And that ties into a good question someone asked me this morning is like what content format do you think I should post on LinkedIn or on let's just say it's in general B2B social media? And I was like, I can only tell you so much, and also based on my experience of what our clients and we've experienced ourselves. However, your audience is going to tell you what they want. Like some niche may just prefer video more versus, let's say, carousel posts that have a deeper dive into a method or methodology or strategy you're working on. So it's like you got to test, and then where you find, like you said, like this brings you the energy or whatnot. Like same with your audience, with what whoever, you have to make sure that like you test. And so many people are so obsessed with coming onto social media with the perfect strategy. There's no such thing as a perfect strategy because it's a constant evolvement, work in progress, viewing the transcripts, looking at the comments, like what are people saying so that I can refine it to give you what you're asking for.
Absolutely. I mean, LinkedIn, I'm quite surprised. I post a lot of videos, clips of the podcast. They do amazingly well, especially kind of the follower to
Mm,
click through rate, etc. The ratio is just, it's all organic as well. I never boosted. I said to myself, 12
yeah,
months, I just wanted to
amazing.
see what would happen because
Mm,
if you don't if you don't have a strategy behind boosting and marketing, it can go wrong very quickly, I think, because then you lose
mm,
the community that started interacting with you at the beginning. So yeah, I'm quite
mm.
surprised, but video does very, very well, whereas sometimes Instagram and TikTok not so much. So it just depends, as you say, going back to that content, being strategic, having that plan in place, distributing differently. One post on LinkedIn will
Mm.
not resonate the same way on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or any other platform that you're using. Substack is a lot to do with storytelling, so long form posts do incredibly well.
So overwhelming. I'm like,
I
how am I going to show
know,
up
I
on all
know, then
these
you got to pick. And
platforms?
I do think, so maybe a recommendation, and we'll come to recommendations, is just pick one or two platforms to begin with. One or two, stick to it, 6 months, and again, create that roadmap, that phased approach.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. Like, I'll probably be after this focusing now on YouTube. So I got the camera and everything now, and then
Good.
Substack I also do like.
Mm.
Substack's got an awesome community
Yep.
for learning and just practicing, as you said, more of your storytelling and let's say more creative thinking. Or almost feel like I'm a Rick Rubin when I'm writing on
What
on
did somebody
Substack.
say? They said that Substack feels like the smoking area when you go to a nightclub. Everybody's just chatting away because it doesn't feel regulated at all, and it's not really. You go on there and people just writing short form, long form. It's their thoughts and opinions more so than hard and facts. I
Mm,
find people are just,
but it's
yeah,
respectable on there.
yeah,
I
I
love
do.
it.
I don't spend enough
Yes.
time on there, to be honest. Maybe I should have a think about that. But YouTube, having its moment, short form content, really recommend doing that. What are you
Mm, I'd
what are
I'd
you doing for
say
the YouTube? You're
yes.
coaching?
So yeah, I'll do some videos where off the back of some of our landing pages, we'll get people deeper into the content funnel,
I
like
love
just to
that.
take them on a bit of a journey through some emails, just to build greater levels of trust while we're waiting to get them on a sales call, for example. And then on the coaching side, yeah, it'll be more of my quick coaching learnings. I'm probably going to start doing testimonial coaching sessions with the clients that are willing to do it so that everyone can get access to that. Because like I said to you beforehand, anyone can scale their own brand, but when you can display how you're very good at relating to someone else's situation and getting them results, you can't replicate that kind of content, especially your competitors. Um, but I think also touching on when yeah, I agree with you, stick to some platforms. I think for me, it's quite easy where I want to go further, like let's say Instagram and whatnot, but I'm lucky where I have the resources now to invest in that to get people to actually help me on, like, let's say a consultant basis. But for me as well, it feels like a lot of a safer investment because I've truly seen the power of a personal brand and I'm obviously in the industry. But I think for people that are in, it's so much easier just to like know that like the long-term growth mindset is so key for this. Like I'm not here to quickly try to build something with or vibe code something and like, get it out there in 6 months. Like I'm here for the long haul. What you gonna do when you sell a business anyway? You're gonna get bored. So I'm enjoying the journey. I'm in no rush to hit any milestone or agenda. As long as we're growing steadily but strongly and the content's getting better and the relationships are getting better, like happy
Yeah.
days. Like one of our clients base said it, like, I don't believe in work-life balance. I have a work-life blend. And for me, I don't mind doing a bit of work on a Sunday and
I
like,
work all
writing some
weekend. Yeah,
notes.
oh,
Like,
I'm chaotic. I work all the time. Love it. If you love what you do and you're passionate about it, then I think do whatever makes you happy. I'm no judgment from me
yeah,
at
exactly.
all. Obviously, if one post does
Yep, yep.
really outperform, that could be a strong indication that that story is resonating. So possibly then put
Mm,
another post out and
mm,
talk about it more.
yes. Yeah, like in the end of the day, B2B to somewhat form is just smart repetition. And I think you also need to overcome the fact that you may sound like a broken record or stuck record, but at the end of the day, like half the people don't even see the first post you post. Like I don't even remember what I posted
I
two
haven't even
days ago.
seen your
Like,
post. I
I
haven't even
can't
seen
tell
them. The
you.
algorithm. If somebody at LinkedIn's listening,
Yeah.
I'd like to understand a little bit more about the algorithm this year because I'm not seeing anybody's post at all. Only the
Okay, so I got a bit of
okay,
assumption there.
you go.
Bit of assumption. Tested as well, and I think I have proof to my assumption, and I'm sure, hopefully, when we post this, some people will comment it in the comments. So comment it in the comments. But basically, keywords. So keywords on your profile. Let's say now I'm targeting coaches and I want to like help coaches tell their personal stories, build their brand better so they can build better pipeline. So if I start speaking directly to their pains, like, you keep posting stuff, but meanwhile you're posting, let's say, AI photos or cheat sheets, like, hello, like you're a human, people are buying you, you need to show more of yourself and tell stories, etc. And I started doing more of those posts to test things for some other projects I'm working on other than the agency. And naturally, from just shifting that content, I just had probably in one day, I had 29 coaches just from that one post. So, what I'm thinking is happening now, audience size isn't as relevant on LinkedIn because we've seen our smaller client accounts now with certain content that's very niche specific go viral. So, like, an account with 450 followers is getting over 700 engagements on a very niche specific post. I think it's distributing it to the people that are actually needing to see your content based on what you're selling
Yeah.
with the keywords. So audience size arguably is going to become less of a thing. And this is why I get so frustrated with people listening more to your LinkedIn gurus and like audience this, oh, I grew by this many impressions. Who cares? Like, just write for your audience and have more DM conversations. You don't need to worry about that because would you rather have a full bank account or loads of impressions that make you feel good for a few minutes and then you're back to your normal life? Like, it's brutal truth, but like that's it. Like that's the game.
No, it is. I've spoken to a few people in my network and they've gone viral on TikTok, but it's very short-lived. They have a day where the dopamine
Mm.
hits and the endorphins are running high, but then after that, well, I didn't monetize it because you have to have a number of viral posts in order to do that. As you say, you end up going back to your quote-unquote normal life and I don't know, maybe a little part of you is lost along the way as well.
Mm,
But I love what you mentioned about keywords,
mm,
because I didn't know this and I've been struggling this year to understand what's going on. I still posted the way I normally post. It is what it is. I'm posting a lot more about the podcast, and I think that's shifting things, but
amazing.
it's also shifting the audience for
Mm,
me. And 6 months' time,
yeah.
hopefully it'll all come back full circle. But I am seeing a shift, which I knew would happen because I was posting a lot about
Mm, mm,
cybersecurity in the podcast last year. This year it's just
mm,
full on creator content. So yeah, that's the
mm.
benchmark. So don't worry.
I think also when you make your users or your guests the hero of the stories, it just tends to just bring better vibes
Yeah,
all in all. And when I'm watching people like just show me their work through other people, that builds so much more trust. It's so much more engaging and interesting because that's the what we're in the game for on LinkedIn. Everyone has a business on LinkedIn, and you know and I do appreciate it's hard sometimes for smaller people to get more case studies to make the person the hero of the story. But then there's also, take a client, they've got 5 pain points when they came to you, change the hook for each pain point, but tell the same story. But like hook different people in with that pain that they may be also experiencing and like recycle your content. I think so many people upset, oh, I've posted this now, I can't. And it's just smart repetition and learning of what's going on in the conversations. And I'm sure what's great for you with this too, and why I also enjoy personal branding so much is just like this format we're doing now, we do that with our clients. And the amount of wealth we've accumulated in all these different industries just from chatting to arguably also people that are at the best at their game because, they obviously have the resources to get agencies to help them and tell their stories and all this. And it's so cool. Like you learn so much just through conversation and community. And once again, like you said, slow things down. Like there's no rush and people can feel when you're trying to rush the process. And I think it's a beautiful place when you get to that point where there's some consistent revenue now. You can still be very consistent, systemize things, but you can just slow things down at that right pace that actually will result in better business and relationships.
absolutely. And I think less is more. So don't feel that you need to write every
Mhm.
single thing that you know in a post. And I struggled with that last year. I used to write, my posts used to be so long. This year, I try and do as
Yeah.
minimal as I can, try and get the key message across. Sometimes they still feel a little bit lengthy, but less is more because you want people to come to you and say, oh, I really resonated with that point you just raised. Tell me more.
Mm, I think so also how the algorithm's acting is it also now I think measures success of a piece of content by the amount of downtime a user's spending on your post too. So like we even look into things now like never tag someone in the first few lines because arguably like a website, they'll bounce off the post to the other page and then they won't have that increased downtime on your post. So then we'll always, for example, like tag people at the bottom. There's like small things on LinkedIn that are always changing. They will always forever change as all platforms evolve. You just got to keep testing different things. And as you know, like no one knows exactly what's happening. Like, do LinkedIn even know what's happening with the algorithm? All I do know is though that like your message, what you do for other people never will change. And email, you have maybe a chance of someone responding. A few emails may bounce, but once you have someone in your network in LinkedIn, there's 100% success rate that they get that in their inbox. Yes, they may not respond on the first or second time, but I know some coaches, and the one coach I'm friends with, Matt Lakayev, who's in Australia. He's got an awesome community. He's got a massive following, and yeah, he's done the numbers, and I trust him because he's proven it. And he says on average, it takes about the fifth or seventh message of a follow up to get somewhere with someone because perhaps they're not ready at the time. Doesn't mean they don't like your content. Same with us. We had each other in our network. We enjoyed the content. Doesn't mean that it's end all. Like it could just result in it happening maybe 6 months, a year's time. So it's just a consistency game, this LinkedIn. It's
Mm.
like SEO of a website.
Oh God, SEO on websites. I mean, I've cracked it now, but God, that took me a year. That was definitely trial and error. I think for me, I don't really like just
Mm,
sending a message to say hello, thanks for connecting. There's got to be purpose there. There's got to be a
mm,
reason why I'm reaching
I
out.
agree.
And
Mm,
we talked about so much already. Can you give your recommendations so far? I want to talk more about the coaching and agency side and how you managed to get into that role, the process, the story behind that. For the
Specifically,
listeners, maybe
sorry?
we touch on B2B, personal brand,
Okay.
and that human connection, community. Is there anything the listeners can
Mm.
take away? And also in my mind, I'm thinking, if you're a startup or an SME, you're just starting out and you don't necessarily have budget, what can you do as well?
Sure. I'd say the main thing as well with LinkedIn and the profile and the keywords we mentioned, I think the biggest thing people get wrong is their positioning. They try to be a bit too salesy, let's say, on their profile, that then when you send people connections, they're like, oh, if I accept this person, they're definitely going to pitch slap me or something. So we've learned through our clients, played a bit softer with the overall positioning. And like for any marketeers listening to this who know like the whole framework with message house and ensuring that like, it's very structured from the top down to the bottom. Your LinkedIn profile and your content on there almost needs to follow a similar thing with the positioning of the profile, the content, and what you actually are speaking about and what you offer. And I think it's arguably just a quick banner change and the copy on your profile. And everyone can do that also with AI now. And that's the amazing thing is that the knowledge gap's closed, but use that to get some insights. What are people saying? Like I do think that could perhaps tie into this third thing is also with LinkedIn to become better at it. And you don't need anything fancy. You do need consistency, but small things like just send yourself more voice notes on WhatsApp. I have a WhatsApp group with myself. I then have a Claude Brain I've set up, and how I set that up is loads of transcripts from conversations like this with my clients, any emails that I took like a long time to go through to articulate a process. I'll build that all into my brain so it sounds more and more like me. And then literally at the end of the day, I just play all my voice notes into my brain. And there I've
That's
got
so
my, let's say,
smart, but I don't
starter.
like listening to my voice back.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's, I agree with you. I'm not that type of, some of my mates listen back to
Oh
notes. I'm like,
gosh, a
what are you
voice
doing?
note.
Hit a button and I can just speak to my device with WhatsApp, with Claude, with Google Docs, anything, you name it. And I've actually started commenting on people's posts on LinkedIn now by doing that. It basically just speeds up if you were to type it out, but it literally dictates it. I'm very impressed with how well it listens to your voice and notices patterns, grammar, pause, everything. It writes it out as if you were literally an English teacher writing it out. It's
Interesting. I'll
crazy.
definitely link
Um,
the resources you've mentioned. It's the digital download
mm,
at the end of the day. So for listeners, I think that's
yeah,
really useful. Some of your notes or how the day's gone, and then summarize what's gone well, what hasn't, who do I need to reach
yeah,
out to, follow-ups,
yeah.
etc. Because I mean,
Hmm.
if we
Hmm.
talk about pipeline, it's never ending, really.
The problem with the content creation though is when most people stare at a blank page, it is so difficult to get going. And by just putting it through that, I don't copy and paste that suddenly straight into LinkedIn, but I've already got a few very good lines and the angle of the post already that now I can humanly go into it and edit it. So my overall ending advice for those three things you went with is focus on building systems that help you analyze the right data that allow you to save time with things that are remedial and actually don't need the human effort, so that in turn it results in you having more time to keep the things human that need to stay human. Like simple as that. And the more and more, yeah, you show up authentically, your content's going to get better. You're going to get better insights from your clients. You're going to start sounding more professional because you understand how to really like position yourself better. And this whole LinkedIn game brings you so much clarity and allows you to sell and speak so much better because you're just constantly at working at refining how do I come off to my potential clients or how do I build my network. And I just think I wish every young person these days in university was forced to build a LinkedIn profile. Like I got one of my interns that's working with us that's at the University of Cape Town. And I thought, flip, you know what? I'm going to put myself in an uncomfortable position today, and he spoke to his lecturer, and now I'm doing a lecture at university because I want to encourage young people to build their brands, because from him building his brand with us for a year, he's already had 5 job
It's
opportunities in the DMs.
amazing. I love hearing success stories like that, especially for young people for students. I mean, the
Yeah,
workforce trying to
big
get in there
time.
now is crazy. Just post one or two things about the projects you're doing because you never know who's going to see them.
I fully agree with you. And it's so positive for me that like, because I still think we're early days of LinkedIn, and like people are like, oh, Matt, you worried that there's going to be so many LinkedIn agencies and AI, right? This and that. I'm like, no, like there's a billion users on there now. That's like 1/7 of the population. Surely a few more billion will eventually be on there because people will need to stand out more as a human. A CV won't cut it just like that anymore. If I'm looking for talent now, I 100% look at
Yeah.
their personal brand because when personal branding, like you want someone that believes in it. You want someone to preach the company they work at and enjoy it as much as you enjoy it. So yeah, it's just super exciting. It's still early doors, I feel. So I think the people though that are willing to be a bit more patient, a bit more human, they will come out on top.
Absolutely. I think talking more on your agency and coaching side, how did you get into it?
I graduated in 2017 with my marketing honors, and I worked for one of my friends who was in an online property space similar to, let's say, Purple Bricks in the UK, where it was the first online property company in South Africa. He was a year older than me. So at the time, he was about 25. I was like, no ways, this 25-year-old's got this company, all this. I want to work for him. I want to learn from him. And as a student, I wasn't very studious. I didn't do much of the student part, but did the fun parts of being a student. But most of the time I
Me
spent
too.
networking, going for coffees with
Bit
mentors.
older now,
Yeah.
can't do it now.
And yeah, I didn't want to learn from someone regurgitating a textbook from me. I wanted to learn from someone that's actually running a business because that's what I wanted to do. So I eventually worked there. Then after 8 months of working with him, I had an idea to almost create like the Depop comparison in South Africa, which was called Rewear. So used to resell some high-end secondhand fashion. I think looking back now, I still think I was quite immature in my business sense, just also as a young guy and he's like early 20s, and I just felt I wasn't mature enough looking back now. But it brought great learnings. I made a great network there, and that really spurred me on for like entrepreneurship. Then went over during COVID to the UK because I'm originally from the UK, so I could get a repat flight back. Bumped into one of my uncle's mates, worked at his agency at the time, was a startup, and I was the first one to join. It's crazy. Literally started with like part-time work, helping with the odd job, and like come 3 weeks later, like full-time. And I was so fortunate to work under my boss at the time, under him for like the whole of COVID. So I absorbed a ton for agency. Then unfortunately, just with the life of lockdown still and minimal social interaction and everything, my mental health got really bad. So I went back to South Africa. And then unfortunately, because of the war in Russia, and when that kicked off and the living expenses in the UK, they wanted me back there, but I wasn't willing to. So I did lose my job. So yeah. Also looking back on that, never took it personally. It was a business decision on their side. They reached out to me and we were looking at potentially doing a partnership now and like me helping them with the LinkedIn side of things. So I think that all in all is the story of how I got into it. But I think, yeah, I've got a very aggressive persistence and grit that I've used to taking the hits. Once you get addicted to that entrepreneurship feel, it's hard to live it down. So the agency kept growing, and then eventually Matt Lakayev, the guy in Oz, reached out to me 2 years ago, and I coached for him in his community, and I still do to present. So I've been doing it for 2 years. But the first year and 4 months, I was so excited that I was like, no ways, this guy's wanting me to coach in his cohort. This is awesome. I didn't even think about looking at the details. I just said, yes, sign me up. I'm doing it. Go back and look at the hour difference. Oh boy, it was Monday from midnight till
Oh
2:30 a.m.
no.
But I yeah, but I did it for a year or a year and a half almost. And I'd go to sleep, I'd set my alarm, I'd get up, do some push-ups, get the blood flowing, and I'd do the coaching. And I think arguably that's when it really unlocked my passion for coaching, because I had so many different SMEs coming on, so many different problems. And what's quite tricky and difficult on a live coaching session when someone's in a community is if they're all at different stages of the course, it's very hard to give overall advice to people. So you have to be quick on your feet with giving people individual advice on the call, while someone perhaps, wants to ask more technical questions. Someone, shame, is getting like a bit overwhelmed over there because they've just come on the call. And it really just helped me sharpen my sword for asking the right questions, giving them real time examples, and trying my best in real time to give them essentially like the best advice that's relatable to them. I finally got a morning slot on my side, so I only do it at 10 in the morning now, thank goodness. So I was very grateful for that when that slot came open. And yeah, eventually I'm getting more and more into coaching now. I definitely think it's more of my passion. Like you say, when you're on these calls, you write down so many things. It ignites your creativity, your human connection. Yeah, there you go.
Always.
Love to see it. Love to see the classic
Oh,
notebook as well.
I think I'll
And
always do it. I know people have flashcards and they tend to have everything typed
yeah,
out, so it still feels the same. But I love a notebook.
yeah.
Honestly,
Oh, it's so good.
honest truth. The guests say so many great things. I
Mm.
want to remember it because I know the
Yeah.
listener will love to hear it. So I have to write it down.
Mm, mm. So what you've just told me now, that's what people need to do for their business to tell their stories to their clients, right? And that's where I think just document every single idea, and I think naturally that will help people as well. So, yeah, hopefully I get to help many more people now with going more into the coaching side. I had my first call yesterday with a few people, and yeah, just absolutely vibrating on the energy. I definitely yeah, share your feelings there. It's a amazing feeling, and especially also having younger people on there and you being able to positively help them with the right trajectory of their life is super rewarding. I think it should be a crime with what teachers and people, educators get paid in some countries. They are literally the responsible for the future. But at the same time, I do unfortunately think, especially with business, universities are far behind in terms of not really equipping the modern day business person with the right skills and the right understanding. So one of my BHAG goals, let's say, is I eventually do want to compete with tertiary education and the MBA as well. Just think they are missing the main learning is they don't teach you properly how to network, how to, let's say, barter with value, exchange with people, to actually use that as a way to learn something versus trying to just get money all the time. And yeah, my biggest learnings come from people because at the end of the day, those courses still are made for a group of people continuously, whereas business is forever changing. And an MBA will never be specific to one niche, like really deep into one niche. Like maybe there is certain ones, like I've heard some new models of how the MBA is coming out too, which is really cool. There's one now, I think, online where instead of like spending hours in the evening or whatnot, you just do a little bit every single day. So the time like it comes to the end of it, you've almost completed it because you were consistent with rather micro bits of doing it versus trying to cram in between like work and
It's
free time. So
interesting.
it's very interesting. I'll try find it and send it to you. But I just think all in all, I've learned my greatest learnings through just networking and learning from other people because they're the actual people that have gone out and done it. And it's way more fun to learn that way. Like, way more fun than sitting at a desk and looking at
Mm.
paper.
I had a guest come on recently. He's in Toronto, Canada, and he's the founder of Wayfinders, a big community of entrepreneurs. Had a friend was really into breath work, but hadn't tried it with anybody, but knew that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to be a breathwork coach. So he
Mm,
trialed it with 2 or 3 people, and exactly the same as yourself, had got such a buzz and was so much energy afterwards that he just knew that was the pathway for him, but started small. And I think we've mentioned that already. Started with
mm,
2 or 3 people, trialed it out, see how it goes, get the feedback,
mm,
because it's beta testing, isn't it, really, if we go back to kind of ROI
mm.
and products. So it's the same thing, and you've mentioned it as well. Don't rush too much.
No, not at all. And that's where one of my predictions for B2B, and I'll put it in my post tomorrow. But just like you've said now, starting small, your initial users are that focus group to better the product, better the journey, equal better results. And let's say, for example, now I have a community of, let's just call them engineers are wanting to show up better on LinkedIn and do their personal brands. Now, if suddenly have 50 very engaged people that trust me as a thought leader and educating them on their personal brand, and they engage in my community and the trust is there, imagine if you could partner and leverage your community and be like, hey, there's this new SaaS tool that's come out for engineers. Hey, company so and so, I can put you in front of 50 of them where they may use your tool. So either maybe through my community, we do a discount and a free trial to like get them testing, or you pay me to like come onto a few sessions where you get to almost use them as a focus group to improve your product. Like I eventually think when people have an audience and more specifically a community in it, you could literally have 20 people. But if they're all earning six figures, like you could get quite a good like deal out of
Yes.
all of them, or show value and build enough trust to be like, oh yeah, this is an easy purchase. Like I have someone I coach, and I met her through other communities, and then we just kept in touch on LinkedIn. And then eventually she said, like, do you have any other offers? I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking about doing this. She's literally like, sign me up. And then I had another guy that's been following me for 2 years, and he actually got a whiff of that content change I was testing with the keywords, and he's like, "Do you have another offer now? Like, what's going on with your content?" And I told him in 2 lines, like, "Sign me up." And the work was done. Like I'm not downplaying also that I've been doing this for 3 years and showing up, and it's you need to get that consistency. Once you get this, it's like it's awesome. There's like so much potential out there now. I really want to gun for more coaching, more community, because it'll also allow it to be more accessible. Whether someone can't afford the live session or the course, let's say in real time, maybe at least they can get my resources for a cheaper expense with some videos. So I do want to eventually cater to a wide audience. All in all, it's just when you really know you can help someone, you see the results and you see the reaction of their face on a call, like nothing can beat that. Like, yo, it's such a cool feeling, like the real like fulfillment and
Yeah,
feeling good.
but also it's acts of service,
It's
it's
so good.
impact. I'm exactly the
Yeah.
same. I
Yeah.
thrive off watching other people's faces, their expressions, how well they're doing. Nothing can beat that in terms of helping other people, which I love.
Exactly.
Thank you for obviously mentioning the mental health, and I do want to kind of circle back on that part of it.
Yeah,
Anything
sure.
else you want to add?
Well, I guess it's on more the therapy side of things or the anxiety. So I think what that allowed me to do, which is quite nice, is um helped me work on more so my emotional intelligence and just like also empathy, but using it in the right way and at different levels. And I think, especially in the agency world, agencies a lot to do with people managing expectations, whether it's from a supplier side to how that's going to affect the end role or finish date for the client side, that you have to deal with all these expectations. It allowed me to look inward and like be very grounded and okay with myself. Generally just want to help people. And if some people don't like that or whatever, that's fine. But I do think from doing that process and going through the really bad anxiety, I find it a lot easier to resonate with people that have been through those things. That allows me maybe to coach them or equip it in a way that makes them feel more comfortable, because you'll struggle very much so with personal branding and helping people when you don't create an environment for them to feel comfortable and to give you the nuggets of information that actually allow them to have influence when creating their content.
Really appreciate you opening up about that, because I mean I have anxiety as well. I'm so open about it, and I think
Mm,
it's a difficult one because it's a catch-22. Obviously for me, I don't really like opening up too much online. I'd rather do that in person. But I resonate with what you're
mhm,
saying.
mhm.
Sometimes you do have to throw a bone out there once in a while. Otherwise, you end up becoming this robot in a way. You're just putting out content. Yes, it
Mm,
sounds great and you look like you're doing very, very well, but what's underneath that? So I think for
yeah,
the listeners
exactly.
and for
Mm,
clients that you're coaching, it'd be really nice to hear that you go through the same challenges, and we all go through similar experiences regardless of the we are in the
mm,
world and age, etc. We are similar,
yeah.
just humans.
Mm. And especially for coaches and consultants, you're dealing with the
Mm,
person, and you're not just investing in what they're good at doing. You're also investing on, their past experiences. Perhaps they actually did go through a few similar difficult situations like you. That allows you to let them see themselves in your story, and that already builds greater trust, and they feel more comfortable with you because oh, I can actually speak to this about so and so because they've been through it. So I don't have to be perhaps as embarrassed about it or struggle to bring it up because they genuinely admitted they went through it. So that makes me feel like, this person's more approachable. I like to call it strategic authenticity. You can go like as deep as you want, which makes you feel comfortable. At the same time, I open up about it in ways that just shows like I am here, I've been through that, and I get you like happy to speak about it. Got the confidence of actually posting about it sometimes more so on LinkedIn. And then also just at the end of the post saying my DMs are open if anyone wants to chat with me. And I ended up having some great conversations. Like some of those people today still support my content. And all it was is like sometimes some people just need a soundboard or someone to speak with. And I know we're all busy and here and there and everywhere, but there's some nice parts that I enjoy about LinkedIn that have nothing to do with business. You generally just meet some genuinely nice people that just share some common beliefs, as you do.
It's really interesting because when I first started talking about burnout during my speeches,
Mm-hmm.
the amount of nods
Yes.
from the audience, all I had to say was
Yeah.
burnout, and it was, oh yeah, I've heard that and I've gone through that before.
Mm,
And then afterwards, people just coming over
mm,
in waves. Oh, as soon as you said that, I
mm.
resonated. So I ended up saying to myself, I can't believe I took so long to talk about it because I've only really started doing that the
Yeah.
last 2-3 months. I think for me, it's a lot to do with, I do have this exterior that everything's great and it's shiny and new and I'm doing fantastically. I'll take it at your own pace. Don't talk about things you don't want to talk about just because you feel you have to. But when the time's right, you'll know.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, yeah, it's just the pressures of society as well. I think it's so sad to see people becoming people they aren't even, that's not even them, but they're trying to like, fit in or get approval. And I think it's quite liberating when you reach that point.
Any last words for the listeners? Touched on so many different things today, but anything you'd like to leave them with?
I would just say, yeah, just focus on showing up daily, but like, showing up could be in the form of 2 hours, and it's okay some days that it's not going as fast. I think we just like this world's moving so fast and we expect it to achieve X, Y, Z. I think just get really comfortable with setting goals for yourself. At the end of the day, it's you versus you. There's always going to be someone above you or doing better than you, and you just need to accept that and rather, just set your own goals for yourself, because once you really start doing it for you, it becomes a whole lot more enjoyable and natural.
And better. And like I said, it's flow, and you start attracting the clients that you want, the business that you want. It starts with you, definitely.
Exactly. Exactly. Looking forward to coming on next year on episode 2.
You can come on, well, not next year. I mean, you'll be in London soon, so we'll figure that out for sure.
Yeah, we'll
Figure
figure
something out
out for sure. I'm keen.
And I think that comes to the end of the episode. Matt, you're making me go off script. But that was Matt talking about unify personal branding, community, growth mindset, and I will speak to you all very, very soon.